And this is what mobilization does. It mobilizes people around issues. Those of us who are revolutionary are not concerned with issues. We're concerned with the system. The difference must be properly understood.
Yes, they stole our identity, but they is not confined to one group of people or one race of people that did the stealing. Either way, that's not the real problem. The real problem is what we did after, because you can't build a future on a foundation you don't recognize as yours. Here's the uncomfortable truth why none of our plans work. Not the organizations, not the movements, not the economic blueprints or the political strategy. Not because we're incapable, but because we're not on one accord with who we are. You can't coordinate power when every hand on the board is playing a different game. Only us on one accord is true power. Like our brother Kwame Ture said, power comes only from the organized masses. We talk about unity like it's some type of kumbaya fantasy, like it's about feelings, like it's about everybody agreeing on everything. That's bullshit. Unity doesn't come from agreeing, it comes from alignment. And alignment starts with origin. You can't unite a people that don't share the same story, or worse yet, don't even know that they have a story. Let's talk about the identities we cling to. Borrowed religions, borrowed identities, borrowed timelines, borrowed heroes, borrowed gods, borrowed saviors. Not because we were weak, but when it was time to choose, the deck was fixed. We weren't given all the facts. We weren't told our history. We weren't told our name. We weren't even told that we had one. We were handed a rigged game and told, pick from this. So we did. And then we built lives, morals, families, and futures around stories that were never ours to begin with. Now, here's the part most people don't want to hear. Ignorance was never the crime, refusal is. Because now we know. We know there was a story before captivity. We know there was civilization before colonialization. We know there was identity before insertion. And once you know something is yours, you don't get to pretend that it's optional. You don't get to say that's interesting and keep living like it changes nothing. I guess you could, but how do you live with yourself after doing something like that? Like the mother of our brothers, George and Jonathan Jackson, said after being asked about her son being told he should do more going along to get along. She said, quote, "I don't see how anybody could be better off making a dog of themselves." End quote. Some people say we'll never all be on one accord. And you're right if you think one accord means uniformity. But history never required uniformity to build empires. It required shared origin and shared interests. Others say, forget the past. We got to focus on today's issue. That sounds practical, but it's all completely wrong. Because every issue we're facing today is the result of a fractured foundation. Economics, politics, education, violence, self-worth, no direction. All of it traces back to one thing. A people disconnected from their origin. Here's what I believe, and I'm standing on it. Every problem gets resolved, or at least starts to get resolved, once we fix the foundation. Not halfway, not symbolically, not academically, but collectively and literally. Everywhere African blood walks the earth. Africa in America, Africa in the Caribbean, Africa in Europe, Africa in South America, Africa on the continent. One people, many locations, one origin. This isn't about erasing differences. It's about remembering what connects us underneath. Because power doesn't start with money. It starts with identity. Before religions, before borders, before languages were broken apart, before names were reassigned. And identity doesn't start with belief. It starts with memory. We don't need another movement. We need reorientation. We don't need louder voices. We need a shared starting point. Because until we all agree on who we are and where we come from, all the construction is built on sand. Things built on sand always collapse. All these great brothers and all these great sisters with all these great plans, but it will not work because the enemy has along the way over the years always put fail safes and booby traps along in our path. Things to keep us divided. It's the booby trap of division. As long as that's there, none of this stuff will work. I don't care how smart you are, how many facts you know, how militant you are. Until we agree and know our history, then nothing will work. It's the oldest adage and it still reads true though. If you don't know where you're coming from, how could you get where you're going? And going back to what the brother Kwame Ture, aka Stokely Carmichael, said, power comes only from the organized mass. This is not nostalgia. This is not revenge. This is not romanticizing the past. This is relaying the only foundation that has ever worked. And whether people admit it or resist it, the truth doesn't care. It doesn't care about your feelings or the beliefs that you can't get past. It remains the truth. You know what time it is. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media.
And this is what mobilization does. It mobilizes people around issues. Those of us who are revolutionary are not concerned with issues. We're concerned with the system. The difference must be properly understood.